Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you tuning in once again. So I thought I'd do a little video on some of the items and the products we use to build these model cars. Let alone if you're doing a plane, ship, military, it's kind of all the same rundown. So I've had a lot of questions asked, where do I get the cups? Where do I get the sandpaper? Where do I get this and that? Instead of doing everything individual, I thought, you know what, let's just make a video about it. And we'll just show you where I usually buy a lot of my stuff, and I'll try to put some links in the description below for some of these things. Now, I don't always get same products from the same place every single time, but I'll just kind of give you the quick rundown of where I normally go. Sometimes I can't find it because the item's either not there or they don't have it in stock or something, so I move on to the next place. But I'm just going to show you basically the things that I use pretty much per every build. So I'm not going to kind of run down every tool I have in here because I'll just take way too long, and a lot of it's kind of just useless information. So other than that, let's go bench side and let's take a look at these few things, and I'll try to put the descriptions in, the links in the description below, and I'll try to do a quick description above during the video. So all right, let's go bench side and let's take a look. Well guys, this is about the basic items I use for almost every build. Actually starting to dig it out, I thought, wow, there's actually a lot more stuff than I thought. So you kind of don't think about it, but that's how it is. So we'll move the gang around here, and we'll kind of start with some of the items I use right out the get-go, and I'll try to put it in order as I build the model on what tools I use and why, and we'll kind of run with that. So I'll get this separated and we'll get her started. Okay, so we got our model out of the box. This one's obviously been painted, so we're just going to kind of run with that instead of opening up another kit here, because this one I just had on the bench that was handy, so we're going to run with that one. So as you can see, this has been painted. So before I start, I like to look the model over really good. So going with the tools that we're going to use on this, I'll just get started out, is I like to see what we have for sharp points, if we got any flashing still carried over. A lot of times you get flashing under here, sometimes up in the front, or it's still on a tree. So this is where our Tamiya snips come in. These are just the plastic side cutters, and I tell you what, these work really good. You can pick these up at pretty much any hobby shop, or on Amazon or something like that. They work good. They're kind of a must, I think, versus if you're tearing the part off, well, then you end up tearing the plastic or whatever up in here. So you want to try always avoid that. So this is where these come in nice, and they cut so flush and fine. Sometimes you can't even notice where you cut it. So that's where these come in. So after I do that, I'll take my X-Acto knife. We can trim. Do what you got to do with that. Make it look nice and pretty and tidy. And just make sure there's nothing else on here. So you can see I left this on here. I will do that on a model that I know this is getting bare metal foil in the end, along with the top. So it don't matter at this point, that's still on there not, because I'm going to foil that before, I'll take this off. That way when I'm sanding it or whatever I'm working on it, gives it a little more support for the roof, so it's just not on the A-pillars, because those are really thin. I don't want to break them. So at this point, we'll go through and decide if it needs any filing, or if I decide I want to do some body line, or kind of like clean out the door jambs and the trunk and all that stuff, do some scribing, some panel line scribing. I have these. This is all I have here. These are from Scale Motorsport. Like I said, I'll put a link in the description below for them. These work really good. They're not that bad a price, but I tell you what, they are sharp. I mean, they're like, if you don't hold it right, it's like, and if you slip across the back, hang on, because you'll look like you got a third trunk line coming off there. So I like these, but I don't. They work good for what I'm doing. I don't think I'd want to use them for cutting doors or anything, but because I've done that before, but they work good. Don't get me wrong. I do like them. You just gotta be careful with them. So those will peel off with just your regular knife. And I like these Excel knives because you can just back this off, give it a push, and it pops that blade loose, and out she goes. And you can take this, cut that out of there, and that inserts into this knife just like a regular blade. So you just go tighten it back up, and this thing is like super tight, and it usually will never come loose from you. So once we get that going, so with the other tools we're going to have on hand right at the get-go, we're going to start using some sanding sticks if we need it. So a lot of times, like this body here was really sharp in the edge, so I'll start with a higher grit. This is actually a 120 or 180, and there's a 100 on this side. I don't use a lot, but I'll just kind of work it back and forth a little bit, and then I'll switch over to a 320. I think this is, yep, it's a 320. So they call this a medium. And these are nail file that you just get at Walmart. I find these work the best because they're nice and wide. They're a sponge, and these work great. I use these. I've been using these for years. And you just gotta get different grit. The only thing I notice on this sometimes, if you're trying to sand certain things, the pink will come off and they'll leave it into the plastic or whatever. But not a big deal. It's not that bad. So like I say, I'll go through with this, sand that, and that's after I do this. And then I'll go through here. Now sometimes I clean up inside, and these are nice and wide so you can go through and hit all the spots you need to get done. So after that's all said and done, we'll come back in with our sheet of 2500. I picked this up at the auto parts store. You can get it on Amazon. That's a cheap place to get it. But I go to auto parts store. You can usually buy a pack of these with 5 in them, or you can get a variety pack of different sizes, kind of like a painter's pack basically. And they're not that expensive. Go to the auto parts store that sells paints. I think a lot of Walmarts will even sell this, Myers or whatever you might have in your area. And I usually buy this versus the like Tamiya brand or whatever, because I feel for bang for the buck I get more for this than the other. But that's your option, if you want to do something like that. And from this point, I'll take this, I'll wet sand the whole car down. I mean the whole thing. So where I like hit this, and when sometimes you scrub, you get some little curly marks there. That'll take that off, and it smooths that plastic out nicely for you. So this car here was not primered, so it just shows you, it'll leave you a nice smooth finish just right on top of the plastic. So after we get down to this part of the build, we're going to move on to our next set of tools that we're going to use. So the next few tools we're going to get out, now we're going to start doing, we're going to get some of these parts off the trees. So we're clipping them, we're getting them ready to go, and how I do my models, I'll take every part off individually and I'll clip what I can, and what I do is I'll leave the spot that I can't see visible. So I know this sits on the crankshaft, that's your power steering pulley. So most likely I'm not going to see that once that's in the car. This is your alternator, and they had a piece that was coming off here. So yes, I'm going to see that. So I'm going to trim that off and get that out of there. So once again, I'll use these, trim it a little bit with this, and if I have to, I'll file it down a little bit. I have some other little files here, but I very rarely use them. Like I say, this will come pretty flush. So then we'll go through, do sub-assembly. So if this was not painted, because I'm kind of a little ahead of the game here, at this point I would take this engine block, I'll glue everything together. So I'm basically gluing everything together that's plastic on plastic that I know I can glue together and come back and paint later. Usually like the engine, some suspension parts, thing like that, just to kind of get a head start on it before I do any type of paint work. So we'll go through, do all that, put it together with a Tamiya thin. You don't have to use this, obviously, if you like the old school red testers glue, tube glue, a lot of other stuff out there you can use, or you can even super glue, but I recommend using this here, or something equivalent, just for, Plastistruck, whatever brand you want to use, just to do your sub-assembly, and then you can go back through at this point and get the most parts you can assembled before you paint. All right, guys, for my next process, what we're doing is we're grabbing some more stuff out here. So now we're back with our skews. We're going to keep these handy. And now we're going to use this holding block. You can get these at Amazon, Hobby Lobby. These all come from Hobby Lobby. They're very inexpensive. I have like 3 of them here. I keep one in my dehydrator, one on the bench over here, and one over by my paint booth. So I'll do at this point is get everything ready to paint. Pretty much the whole model. If I could sub-assembly, so if say that was still just clear or just color of the plastic, I would basically paint the base color. So this here, we would have painted it red, and I put everything on skews, stick these all in here, same as a dash. I mean, just everything goes in. These things work amazing, and you can just load it up and they work great. So you have a choice now if you want to primer your small parts like this. I personally don't, so I usually take this out of the equation. Just because it's always sparingly, and I'd never have enough to go around as it is. So the other thing you can do is you can use the cup or not if you want to mix the lacquer. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. So as we're skewing all these parts up, if I have something small enough to where it's hard to get a skew on, or I don't have nothing to attach and I want to just attach it to the back, I'll do one of 2 things. One I'll do is I'll take some of my CA, and I'll take just a piece of sprue off anything, say for this, for instance, something that's nice and straight, and I'll just cut this along the sides. It don't have to be nothing too fancy. I'll take my CA and I'll just put a drop of there, and I'll stick it and hold it there, and this is where our accelerator comes in nice. So we have our Bob Smith accelerator, or any accelerator of your choice, same as the super glue. Put that there and we'll give that a little hit. So I'll either do it this way. So we're basically holding it three ways here. You can either hold off the skew. I'll do it this way here and just hold it that way. Now the skew can be on here if this isn't available. Or the other way, I'll do it the third way. I'll take my knife and I'll cut a little piece off of here. This is Fun Tack. I get this at Walmart. It's like $1 or something for a piece. And I just take the package off. I leave it in the plastic. And I'll just cut right through the plastic. As you can see, all these here. And I'll just take a little piece, ball it up a little bit, stick that on there, and just stick the skew right into this stuff here. And that works great. The only thing I did find, if you're using a dehydrator, I mean, this is okay, but this will start to soften up. It won't melt, but it'll soften up quite a bit. And either you gotta let it cool before you take the part down, or try to remove it before you bake it. But other than that, this stuff works really, really good. So as we're going, you have, like I say, you could either mix this just straight on its own without a cup. But I usually like using a cup no matter what. I don't usually like putting it right directly in an airbrush. I usually just go this route and just do it this way. And what I'll do is, obviously, we'll just go in, measure it out. These cups here I get from multiple places. These, a lot of times, I'll get from Amazon, but a lot of times also I get them from Hobby Nut Models, because Market Hobby Nut has these at a really good price. Same as the pippets. These are also from Hobby Nut Models or Amazon. Either way, they're about the same price, believe it or not. So a lot of times I'm ordering paint from Mark. I'll just say, give me a pack of these, pack of these. Like I said, they're about the same price. So if I'm going to wait to get them shipped to the house anyways, I'll just get it with the paint order. It's not that big a difference at all. So we'll go through and I'll mix our cups, use our cups, our pippets, get everything mixed up, and then we are ready to spray. And I like to have everything on the skews before you even start painting, just to kind of get ready for the job. And most of the time, use my Tamiya. I will just use the Tamiya lacquer. Now I'll buy this wherever I can get it at a decent price, because I go through a lot of this stuff. This particular bottle here comes from Great Lakes Hobby, and I bought it from Hobby Nut Model. Most hobby shops, almost all hobby shops, carry this stuff, so it's pretty easy to come by. But that's usually where I would get that stuff from. Okay, so now we're going to get into the paint booth, start spraying some stuff. So we got a few more items here. So now what we're going to do is get this all mixed up. We're ready to go. Everything's ready to shoot. So we're use a lot of times my gallery airbrush, and you can go to gallery.com and get this. If you guys are interested in these gallery airbrushes, you can use my 10% off code that you see at the beginning of the channel. That'll save you a lot of money in these. Like I say, I like these because the cups are polished. So they're very clean inside, and you just have to run a little bit thinner, and you pretty much don't even have to wipe them out because they clean out so well. So we'll get going through, we'll paint everything up, and we'll go from there. So like I was showing you, the blue tack, this is why I like using that, because you get the smaller part here. What I like to do is I'll just take this off, and you can see the spot where it wasn't painted. So I'll get some fresh blue tack, and the next time I'll just ball it up and I'll put it over here in the corner. And that way there, now I'll paint that, and this has already got paint on it, because a lot of times I give it 2 coats, I'll wet sand in between. So that's usually how I like using that. So, but before we get painting, I always like to wear gloves, at least on the hand that I'm holding the item. Per se, I really don't need a glove that I'm spraying this with, because I kind of find it redundant to glove both hands just for that. So once we get done with that, we can move on to the next spot, and we can start doing some kind of some base assembly at this point. Okay, so assembly time. Now we're getting ready to put the model together. So now we're using more so CA glues. You can use CA glues, your choice. I'll go back and forth. I like this because it's the gel. I can put that on. It won't run, where this is obviously more of a liquid. BSI makes all kinds of different CA glues. And I'll tell you what, it's just unbelievable different things they have. So a lot of times you can get this at most any hobby stops. Most hobby shops, and then Hobby Nut Model sells that. Same as the accelerator. This here, I'll be honest with you, I just buy this at Walmart. It's like $3.20 or $3.40 for a pack of this at Walmart, and that lasts me a long time. I'll buy 2 at a time. So that way it's redundant. I just got, okay, we're getting close to one being done. I'll grab another one. I know I'm on that second one. I'll go buy another one. So I always have one in house, an extra one. So now we're getting things glued together. We're using the CA. So a lot of times I won't spray the CA. I'll do one of two things. We'll have our fancy Q-tips. So I'll do one of two things. I'll either spray the cap, or if I'm getting ready to do something on the model, I'll just take this off. And Tony Lancer's actually showing me this. That's how I usually do it. And I think, huh, never thought about doing it that way. He actually does. So say if I'm putting that starter on, he'll just take this and I got it glued on there and just let the tip of it, just that little drip, just let it touch there, and that's all you need. That way you're not got the big spray over there, you're not wasting Q-tips or anything like that. Because sometimes I'll take the cap, spray it, and I'll soak a Q-tip in it and go that route. So I use a lot of Q-tips during assembly for miscellaneous things. They come in really handy in case you get a little bit of smudge on something, or you want to touch something up. The Q-tips come in really handy. So I buy these off Amazon. These come in a pack of like 2,000. And they're the individual piece. I think there's 50 in here, so they give you a big bundle of them. Once again, I'll put a link in the description below for these. And during some assembly, we're going to go through and use our panel line. So obviously you guys have used panel line before, so you know all this is about. I find this really nice, especially on assembly part, because obviously chrome valve core don't look that chrome, and you know panel line's really thin. So you can just take it on, just let it wick its way down, and gives you that nice black wash edge on there. So we'll go through and do all this on anything we can. Usually put it on there and just kind of wicks down, but I'm just kind of rushing it along. And panel line looks awesome. It don't matter what. It fits the part. It makes it look good. So we'll go through and do all that, and we'll start doing some cutting off the extra sprue pieces, tidying it all up. So now we're using our fancy tweezers. These come from Great Lakes Hobby down in Sterling Heights. It's kind of my other hobby shop I go to because we go down there a lot. So I always figure while we're in the area, I might as well stop and see what they got going on. So I picked these up there. Very inexpensive. Good set of tweezers is very helpful. Very nice to have. So I also have this tile tweezer that you can use to pick up something that holds it for you. So I got these at Hobby Lobby, so it was a good buy there. So a good tweezer is good to have. I'm hit or miss with these. Sometimes they work good for me, sometimes they don't. But I've been using them. I don't know why I don't upgrade them. I should. So at this part, we're cutting off pieces off the sprue. So I'll either take my paintbrush. I'm using this little tiny brush. I'll get over what color paint out, and I'll just do a little dab in there. If it's a black part, I'll usually sometimes just use a Sharpie and just clean it up that way. So we're doing some engine work here, and I want to do a couple things like, I want that cap chrome. That's where our Molotov chrome pens come in, because you guys all know these things work amazing. You can just hit it and it's just beautiful looking. So I love these pens. You can get these any hobby shop. Hobby Nut Model sells these. I think I got one of these from Hobby Nut, and the other ones come from Great Lakes Hobby down in Sterling Heights. You can also get these, I think Hobby Lobby sells these now, so something like that. Same as here. Now we're white lettering tires. I mentioned in a video before, I like using the Jelly Roll pens for tires. These work really good. The only downfall, if you're not continuously using it, I'll take a piece of sandpaper, like an old piece of sandpaper, and I'll just use it flat, and I'll just continuously like give a little bit of a fresh start before I do the next letter, and I'll hit it again, just because sometimes it'll dry out really quick. Just to go from there. So now we're doing windshields, mirrors, that type of thing. So that's where the Mod Podge comes in. So that works out really good. You can get this at Walmart. I don't suggest buying this anywhere but that. And I usually use gloss luster, so that way when it clears, you don't really see it. That works really good for that. Some guys use canopy glue. That'll work just as good. Canopy glue is kind of like white glue on steroids. I mean, the stuff's just amazing. Which I have bottles here. This is any hobby shop type thing. I actually got this, I believe, at Hobby Lobby, so that comes in handy really good there. Now another product I use, and it depends on what I'm doing with it. Sometimes I'll fill in body seams, and I use Bondo Spot Putty, the glazing putty. This came from an auto parts store, so a lot of stores, I think even Myers or some Walmart, sell this stuff. This is an old bottle. The new one, I believe, is now red and it says Bondo down the side. But you can just go any of those stores that sells paint, and most of these will sell glazing putty. This is glazing and spot putty. And what I like about this, it's really, really smooth, and it's easy to work with. It dries fast. It sands nice. If you have to reapply, put a little bit on. Takes seconds to, you know, you put it in the dehydrator and it doesn't take long at all to dry, and you can redo it again. So this is a plus for doing, say, if you got a seats or something, you put it together, or a little divot in the body. This stuff works really good. So other than that, we're down to, say, like say putting the windows in, headlights. I like to take my black Sharpies, go around the edge of all my lighting. I think that gives it such a nice look. That works really good for that. And once again, I always keep Q-tips in hand just in case something gets out of hand. I can wipe it, like if I get too much smeared on there, wipe it off with some nice Q-tips. You don't want to just buy the Blue Box Q-tip brand, because the tip of those are so fuzzy and they're just these are like the way to go. I always keep toothpicks on hand just for little things. I could actually put a little bit of glue on my table, use a toothpick, and just dot that in. And I also use this for like small parts of painting. I'll snap the tip off a little bit, so it's, because if you just dip it into the point, it's really not going to get you a lot of paint. And I'll say if I wanted just to dot something, it gives me a nice precision dot. I can just touch whatever, and it's easily to paint that way. So then we come down to the decal part. We're putting some decals on. So obviously we can get our micro set. So you can put this on first, get the area ready to promote the decal adhesion. And then once it's getting closer, you can get it dried down a little bit, and then you can apply this, and it'll give that painted on look. Or you can use this stuff to remove decals if need be. So those are some of the supplies I use as I'm building the model. Like say, just, you don't obviously have to use all the stuff, but this is just the stuff I use on my daily, everyday build. You know, it almost doesn't seem like it when you're going through the stuff, but once you start looking, it was like, man, I got a lot of stuff here. I used to just put a model together. It's unbelievable. All right, so our final step is painting the car body. Now I have to admit to you, I actually do this kind of first on my builds. I'll get it prepped, like you see in the beginning of the video, and then I'll do my body painting. And then why? Because I use enamel most of the time, so I usually set for a couple days. So while it's curing, I'll start working on the body, or the chassis, interior, all that stuff. So that's mainly why I do that first. So we'll get this cleared off, and we'll move on to our next process. Okay, so at this point, we're going to prime the body at this point. So I'll use Mr. Hobby Surfacer, not per se black. I just have the center here. Depends on what color you're using. If I decide to prime it, we're going to go with this. And I usually mix that with my Tamiya lacquer thinner, which works really good. Once again, we're going to glove up, and I just do the glove on the side I'm using to spray with. We're going to use our gallery airbrush on this. And obviously, we got an air compressor over there. And we're going to mix this and this with our pippets, and once again our cups that I showed you earlier before. And this is where I like the white spoons. This is where the spoons come in. Once you get that mix, we can spray it and see how it's painting. So I like to do that 2 reasons. One, I like to because I can test to see how the gun's spraying, and I can see how good that's going to cover. That's why I like checking a spoon first. I know a lot of guys don't. It's not a must or a priority. That's just me personally. That's how I like to do that. Now, a lot of times I also have my Robo-Grip pliers here. You guys remember these from Craftsman, these old Sears pliers. Sometimes I get some bottles I can't get them open, so I'll bring these bad boys out and go from there. So just another item we'll use here in the shop when we're working on stuff. So this this is not a must by any means, but I have found personally, you guys may think it's weird or whatnot, but I found if I roll my shirt with a roller, with one of these things, I think I get less material. Because if you're spraying, you're moving your arm or whatnot, and you got a lot of lint or hair or something on your shirt. We have animals in the house, so we have dogs and cats in there, so there's always hair in your clothes. I find sometimes rolling your shirt beforehand, you don't get as much dust. That's me. I mean, it may sound goofy or whatever, but that's how I do. I'm just showing you how I do this. So I found out just to do a quick roll on the front of your shirt, because you're moving that airbrush up and down, so you're aggravating that shirt. You got your paint booth on, so the fumes are coming from somewhere, so it's got to suck air, so the air is going around you. So if you're moving your shirt around, get some particles. I'm going long out of a limb on this, but that's my theory on it. It could be just me just overthinking it, but probably, I don't know. But that's what I like to do, and I've been finding out I don't get as much concerns with it. So also this is where we use our Tamiya anti-static brush. This works great. So before we start the process, we'll go through and wipe this down real good, get that going. And before I do any of all this anyways, this will go in the house and get washed. I wash all my models no matter what, just to make sure. And like I say, we can go in and clean this up real good, and life is good from that point. So we get that all sprayed down, and we'll take it back over to the bench, and we'll continue our next process. So at this point, we're going to get our sandpapers out, and we're going to start wet sanding the primer. And I like to use 3,000, sometimes up to 5,000. I feel you really shouldn't, on primer, you don't even really have to go past 3,000. But some occasions I will hit with 5. I do not feel you need to go any further than that. Say 3, I would say is good enough to do primer. And it gives that nice, soft, subtle look. So I use the Trizac. I'll put a link in the description below for this. So the 3,000, I buy this at Auto Parts, like AutoZone, Advanced Auto. I think these came from Advanced Auto. And when you buy these from those stores, I think they're like $9 or something like that. You get one sheet. That's all you get for that price. You get one sheet and that's it. But this will last a long time. Like, I just take scissors, I cut little pieces off it. You guys seen me in paint videos before using this. And I love this stuff. It's a foam. It works good. And I think for the bang for the buck, I think you get more of a deal than using like the Tamiyas or something like that. But that's me personally. This is just what I use. So like say, these I get from auto parts stores. I'm sure you can go to Amazon and find it cheaper. But I don't. This is what I use. So if it comes down to it, we'll show you the other sandpaper when we get down to the paint side of it. But this is what I like using, and we'll move on from there. So once we get this wet sanded down, once again, it goes back in the house and it gets another wash job, you know, once we wet sand all the parts and we get everything ready to go back together. So when I paint these, I didn't show you this first time around. We use this paint stands. So we'll put these on here. These work really well. You guys have all seen these probably. And just set that on there like so. They're nice. You can spin them around, do whatever. Just got to remember, they come apart. So I can't tell how many times I've had this fall off on me. So when I'm painting, I'm usually holding on to it. A lot of you guys will tape this to keep the debris, you know, because you will get some buildup on this. To keep dust and whatnot from coming in there. Now another thing I have used over the years is these popsicle sticks. And I'll do is I'll just tape it to the body in here. If you don't have one of those, these you get at the dollar store, like a Dollar Days or just one of those like actual dollar stores. You can get, I think Walmart even sells them in their art supply section. And I just put a little bit of like Scotch Blue painter's tape. And I'll just stick a little bit on there and just I use it for that. But like I say, you have to have something when you're done with it to hold on to it in the end, because once you paint it, obviously you can't take the model off because it's wet. So I have a little vise here, like a bench vise, and I'll put it in the vise and crank it down. It'll just sit there until it's drier till I can remove it. It's the only downside about this, but they do work good for a pinch. Other than that, if you can go old school, you can just use coat hanger. I've done that many times as well. Now we're moving on to my favorite part of the build. We're going to do is paint the car, get it painted up. So before we start, if the car needs to be masked off, I like to use my Tamiya tape. Getting that way, same thing, we're going to put the car back in here. And I like to get everything situated before I even start mixing anything. So once again, we have our airbrush ready to go, and we're going to get that going. We're using the gallery most of the time. And this is again where our rubber grips come in. So we're going to need some paint, obviously, and a lot of times if you guys use MCW or some paints, these tops don't come off, and these rubber grips work great. They're just the right size, and you can spin the top off real easy. They will crank the cap a little bit, but that's how it's going to be. So that works good for these, using these. So now we got the body taped up if we need to, or once we paint it, we're going to come back and do the same thing. So basically, if I paint it, or if I paint and then clear coat, this is going to be the same process. So once again, we're going to go through we got our primered body, so we're going to go through with our Tamiya brush. We're going to wipe this off real good. It's on the stand. We're ready to go. It's good there. And we got our glove on. So once again, I like using my glove. And we're getting close to start laying some color down. So before all this goes on, I like to have my paint mixed up. So I'll use these two thinners. These are two thinners I use for painting my MCWs. But now MCW now has their own thinner, which I do have a bottle of that here. I just haven't gone over to get it. I guess I can grab it real quick. So MCWs have their own thinner now. They say this is pretty much equivalent to leveling thinner. I've used it one time. It actually does work really good. So yeah, and it's actually a little cheaper than what you're going to pay for this, and you get more in this. I think this is, what, 16 ounces, and I think that's 400 milliliters, but I think it's like 14 ounces if I'm thinking right. So that's a good deal there. So anyways, between either that one, this, or this, these are what I use my MCWs, because that's mostly what I paint on my car bodies. Every blue moon I'll go with a lacquer, but mostly it's this. So depending on if it's going to be a metallic or a solid, if it's a metallic color like this mist green, you can see this heavy metallic, I'll use rapid thinner. So I like using the rapid thinner just because it'll dry a little quicker, so it doesn't give that metallic time to settle out and like walk away from corners and crevices. Now if it's a solid color or clear coat, I'll use leveling thinner. And this here gives it more time to smooth out, it'll level out not a lot nicer. So that works really good with solids or with clear, so that's what I use with those. So before we get going, we use the fancy paint mixer. So we'll go through and mix this up first. This is really nice, especially for these metallics. And we'll mix everything up. Once again, using our pipette and our cups. We'll do our mix formula and all that good stuff. And we'll get ready to spray. Once again, I'll go through, hit myself with the roller, and make sure I'm good. And we'll go through and paint it. And we'll paint our test spoon. So now we got primer on there, right? We sprayed with primer. Now we're painting this with paint. So now I can see how the paint's going to cover the primer. And once again, I can see how the paint airbrush is spraying, which is good. You want to test your equipment basically. And now I'm going to see what kind of pattern or how good that's covering. Because sometimes you can mix this. I know certain colors seem like they require more thinner than others. So if I'm putting it on, it's like, it's going to kind of dry. I can add just a couple more drips into it and call her good. Or, okay, this is going on a little too thin. So I'll do one of two things. I'll add just a little bit more of this. Or if you actually just walk away from it a little bit and let it sit, it'll actually thicken up on you also. So it don't take much for that to start evaporating out. But usually I'll just add more to it because I'm always in a hurry and let's get it done type thing. So now we got our brush or this painted. So now we can go through and paint the car and get that part of it done. So after all said and done with that, we'll move on. So now we're all done with the car and it's all painted and pretty much the rest of it's assembled, all that fun stuff. And I had this out earlier and I didn't show you. This is just a 1/4 inch extension for a socket. And I use this to put a socket in here and I'll stick a wheel on there. And I use this to sand my tires down. So I'll put this on a electric drill and I'll stick a socket on here depending on what size tire it is. And I'll spin the tire and I'll use these heavier grit flat sandpaper, and as it's spinning, I'll just let that just let it ride, and it eats the tire pretty good. You gotta be careful, you can't go too much or it'll look like the tire's feathered, like you got a bad alignment problem. But that's why I use this. But this will sometimes be this part of the process as we're assembling it. Sometimes I'll do that along with white leather those tires with that gel pen. Just depending on which way I feel like going. So now we're at the point where we want to wet sand the car. So once again, I'll get my spoon out because this spoon has followed me throughout the build process during color, paint, whatever. So what I like to do this is now I'll wet sand the spoon. And I'll see, okay, the spoon wet sand's good, so that tells me the body's going to be good. Versus me trying to wet sand here first, and then, uh-oh, I got a problem. Now we just destroyed our paint job. That's why I like doing spoons, because this guy will go with the car the whole build. So we'll wet sand spoon, everything's cool. So once again, I'll start with my wet sand dry paper. I start with 3,000. I work up to 5,000, and then in the end, this is my final step, and I know a lot of you guys will do 12,000, which is cool. I like to say I should maybe start doing that. I'll go up to 8,000. These here I buy from the auto parts store. This here I get out from Amazon. This is cheaper at Amazon by far. And this comes in little pieces and little strips. And once again, I just cut it. And I like to say, I like this Trizac because it's everything's color coded. So you can see this is more of a greenish color. This is kind of like an aqua. This is more of a tannish brown. So they're kind of color coded, so you don't really have to look at it if you know the product. You can just grab it. So that works out really good. So once we get to that point, we'll start polishing. And if we decide to clear coat, now if we go through the clear coat, once again, I'll grab my spoon, I'll clear coat that. Same process with the airbrush, glove, and the whole 9 yards. Shoot the spoon, the whole thing. So we're just kind of skipping that step because sometimes I don't clear coat everything. This one here is not clear coated yet, but it will get after decals put on. So at this point, sometimes during final assembly, when I'm assembling the car, we'll use these gallery markers. I know AK, other brands make them. I get these directly from Gallery. So like I say, there's a link in on my page for that, and these markers work amazing. I love them. I use these quite a bit throughout the build. So as we're polishing, now at this point, we're using our polishing compound. So this is what I use. This is what I start with. I use the Wizard Final Cut. This is a huge bottle. This will last you a long time. I mean, I've had this bottle for years, and it lasts me a long time. So what I like to polish with, guys, is just these microfiber cloths. You get these at Walmart, you get these anywhere. This is all I use for polishing and detailing my car. So a lot of times I'll take and cut them up. Sometimes it's messy though, because if you cut it, you get all the frillies and it does make a mess. So sometimes I'll just leave it out full, whatnot. This product here, I usually buy at Advance Auto. This is usually where I get this. And you got to get at some of the bigger Advance Autos where they sell, or they have more of a commercial side. Because a lot of times this isn't out front. You got to ask for it. It's in the back. This stuff isn't cheap. I mean, it's a little on the pricier side. But like I say, for what you're getting, so it's well worth it. So after we do all that, like so we're using that microfiber towel. And then I'll finalize it with this here. This is Master Shine. Same thing, same brand. Get it, same type deal. And you can use whatever polish you want. If you want to use the Tamiya polishes, there's so many different things out there. Is it Nuva, something like that, 1 and 2. You can use whatever you're comfortable with. But this is what I like. This is what I use. And I like this because I can use it on glass. If you got a scratch in the windshield, I'll use some 3000 on a windshield and then come back and do this with it, and you can't tell it was touched. So this is a great product. Like I said, they're a little pricey. I think this little bottle here is like 20 bucks. So they're not cheap, but they will last you a long time. And nice thing too, if I do this here, I can actually polish wet sand the spoon, put some polish on. I can make this look like the car is going to look. So this, like I say, the spoon will follow the build from start to finish. That's why, once again, I like using the spoons. So basically, guys, that's all the products I use. I know there's quite a bit of stuff here. And you don't have to use everything that I'm using to do a model. But these are just the items that I use to do a build. Most of my builds take usually almost a month to do. So it's not just a quick overnighter and there we go. But you don't have to have all this stuff to build a model. This is just the things I use. And I find that they work good for me. But obviously you can use what you're comfortable with and all that fun stuff. But I'll just show you a little something that, like I say, I've getting a lot of people ask, like, where do I get the sandpaper? Where do I get the cups? Stuff like that. So like I say, I'll put a link in the description on a few of these items, not all of it. And we'll kind of run with that. So it's just, I'll do a quick video on how I do my models, what items I use and for what and why. Just thought it'd be kind of a fun video doing all that. And there's one thing I did not add in my video that I use every time. I didn't used to, but I do nowadays. When I'm painting, more so sometimes with the lacquer, I don't so much with. But when I'm using MCWs, it's your lungs, it's your business, but I highly recommend a nice paint mask. Something with charcoal filters, a little NN95 like mask you'd use for COVID. That's not going to cut it. You need something that's going to work good, and you know, with the changeable filters in it, that's what you want. Something that's going to do the job and protect you. I put this on nice and tight. I'll have mask face when I'm done. I don't care. I know when I get done, I can walk outside and I'm still breathing the way I come in. So highly recommend this. I use this every time when I'm especially painting the enamels, or if I'm doing a lot of lacquer painting, I'll put that on as well. So just a little side note for you, just make sure you guys use one. I highly recommend it. You may think, I don't smell them and I'm painting in this. I don't care. It's up to you. That's your lungs. It's your thing. But I found over the years, yeah, that's well worth it. So once again, guys, put the video together for you quick here just to show you what I'm using, all the products I use, and all that good stuff. So just modeling tips and tricks that I found along the way, and things like, say, we're watching your guys' channels out there, and just kind of learning new products as we go. So once again, I appreciate you guys tuning in, following along, and we will see you guys on the next video. You guys have a good one. We'll see you next time.